What's up, everybody? Back with another Fair Shake review. Yeah, I know, weird that I'm over here for a review. Crazy, right? I just figured it made more sense. You get to see me and my expressions a little bit more, but who knows? We'll see how this goes. But anyway, we're here to talk about DMX's Exodus. Yeah, so this is the posthumous album from DMX, and I just figured, hey, let me go ahead and give this mug a listen because DMX was pretty cool. I never really delved into his albums when I was growing up, when he was really popular, but I still liked the singles I ended up hearing growing up. So I figured, hey, well, I'll go ahead and give this album a chance, especially since it's probably going to be one of the last works he gets to release, and maybe I'll dive into some of the older work and as a respected MC that he is. But yeah, so I go into this and I'm like, okay, that's my dog. Okay, all right, this sounds about right. They're kind of going in, but I don't know if I want to return to this because the bath salts. I'm like, ooh, this is the one with Jay-Z and Nas, and I'm like, ooh, Jay-Z and Nas and DMX too. Got some pretty nice verses on here. Beats okay, but it's a pretty good song. Dogs Out and Lil Wayne, Swiss. And I'm like, oh, okay, they got Wayne on here. Wayne's not sounding too bad. And DMX's verses, it seems like a lot of these DMX verses are like on point for the most part. Like they sound exactly as they should. Money, Money, Money with Moneybagg Yo ends up being like mad short. But I'm like, okay, that was interesting. I never really got to hear Moneybagg Yo before. But this song is just, it's kind of standard. It's par for the course. Hold Me Down, Alicia Keys is like, oh, they got Alicia on here, makes sense, but the New York connection, then Alicia's with Swiss, okay, cool. All right, Skyscrapers with Bono, interesting. This is a different kind of sound. I kind of like the idea behind it, but it's still just kind of like kind of standard. I don't know. It's like okay. Then the stick up skit. I'm like, oh, we got a skit going. Interesting. That leads into Hood Blues, and I'm like, ooh, they got Griselda on here, bro. And I'm like, okay, this is too grimy. And I kind of like it. Like, I don't really be getting into some of the grimy stuff, and there's some grimy stuff before, some hood streets stuff before, but this, I don't know, man. That's when I'm kind of into this one. Then Take Control comes on. I'm like, ooh, this is kind of cool. I kind of like this. It's a little more ladies track, but I don't know. I'm on the fence with this one. Walking in the Rain comes on, and I'm like, ooh, this one I really like. Added that one. That's probably my favorite track on here. Then the Exodus skit comes on, the Letter to the Sun. I'm like, oh, this is very heartfelt. I dig it, but it really does seem extremely personal. And then it ends off with a prayer, as he's definitely known to be a God-fearing man, and so it makes sense that they'd have a prayer, and he has like prayers on most of his albums and performances as well, so it just makes sense to end this off with that. And I'm like, okay, this was a solid project. I just think that I probably wouldn't return to a whole lot of it, and maybe that's also why I haven't necessarily dove into his material as I grew up, because there are some artists that I grew up listening to, that I liked, that I was like, being that I wasn't able to really get these albums since they had explicit content, there's artists that I've went back to like truly like listen to what they have, and like DMX was never one of those artists that was like, I really wonder what else he has to offer than just, the singles that I got to hear. And after finally listening to a full project, it's like, yeah, it's kind of what I expected. Some good rapping, some interesting flows, a little good smattering of different topics, but mostly on the grimy hood stuff that doesn't quite interest me as much. There's a special way it has to be delivered for me to be like, ooh, I love this. And DMX did not necessarily do that for me. But as a posthumous album, you know, getting all these other acts on here, and then even some of these that I think probably, you know, were happening way before, like started on way before, you know, his death, like the actual collaboration process part starting probably before his death. Like it sounds like a lot, pretty much all of these sound natural collaborations, and I dig that aspect of it. So I think it was a very respectful, put together piece. It's just unfortunately not something that I think I would return to. But if you are a fan of DMX, I think that this would definitely be something that would please you. I have heard some people say that it, you know, it that there's some things that they still kind of wanted out of it, but for the most part, it's what you would want to hear in a new DMX project. It's unfortunate about his passing, but you know, it is what it is. But that's what I thought. I wonder what you guys think, and very, very curious. Please leave a comment below what you think of the project, if you have some other thoughts, or if you even agree with me. If you enjoyed this review, you can hit the like button. You can also hit the subscribe for more reviews and reactions. And also, just so you know, in the description box there is a link to my Patreon, where you can help support your boy if you want to do so. There you'll get extra reactions and videos and early access to my own music if that's something that interests you. But until next time, much love, peace, threes.